I don't think there are many universal questions people spend more time on than deciding whether it's time for a divorce. Seriously, it might just be in the running for most thought-about question of all time, right up there with what's the meaning of life. We certainly spend way less time wondering whether it's time to get married. At first, you don't even realize it's a question. It starts as this nagging feeling that something just isn't right. You dismiss it, thinking it's just a bad day, stress, or maybe you're overthinking things. Then that nagging feeling starts to grow. You begin to wonder, what if? You dig for answers, researching online, reading articles, or asking friends who have been through it. But nothing seems to answer the one big question that keeps circling in your mind. Is it time? It's like standing at the edge of a cliff, staring into the unknown, wondering if you should take the leap or stay put. I've been there, feeling like I was trudging through the emotional fog, second-guessing every thought, making a bold decision one day only to completely backpedal the next. I'm leaving. No, wait. Maybe it's just stress. No, I'm leaving. Or maybe I just need a nap. This went on for years. And then, one completely unremarkable morning, with no fireworks, no dramatic music, the quiet, steady truth settled in. I'm done. So let me walk you through what I've learned from my own experience and what could help you decide if it's time to let go. It's not about some grand revelation or magical moment. It's more like a slow-burning clarity that creeps up on you until one day you just know. And that's where the real shift begins. First things first. If you're in an abusive relationship, whether physical, emotional, or psychological, get out now. Don't wait for a sign. Your safety and well-being are priority number one. This post is for those who are stuck in marriages that are more unhappy than harmful. If you or your children are victims of abuse, please take the next step and reach out for help. You'll figure out the rest later. Okay, let's take a look at some hard facts. Did you know that women initiate divorce twice as often as men? Yep. According to statistics, about 70% of divorces are filed by women. And when it comes to college-educated women, the stats get even more dramatic. 90% of divorces in these couples are initiated by women. Sounds crazy, right? But after talking to so many women and men, it makes perfect sense. For many women, divorce is seen as a restart, a chance to take control, pursue their own happiness, and finally break free from a relationship that isn't working. On the flip side, men often see divorce as a failure. The stigma that men are supposed to hold it together or be the provider, the head of the family, can make divorce feel like a personal defeat. In other words, women tend to view divorce as a new beginning, while men view it as a loss of what was and what could have been. It's not that men don't see the warning signs or feel the tension. They do. But for many men, even considering divorce feels like confronting the end of the road, the ultimate personal failure. And if they happen to have a high-conflict personality, they will never forgive you for it. So, when do you know? If you clicked on this video, I'm assuming you're facing that age-old question. Is this it? Is it time for divorce? Or maybe you're just nosy. In any case, you're welcome here. I used to wonder the same thing. I was stuck in the same loop, hearing from friends, family, and even strangers telling me what to do. Everyone had an opinion about my marriage and the state of things, but none of that advice really helped. If anything, it just made me feel more confused. I wasn't ready to let go, even when I could see the cracks. I still wanted to fix it, still wanted to believe it could get better. Hanging on to the ever-diminishing promise of the happiness that disappeared with our youth. It's a common feeling. We all want to believe the fairy tale, right? That things will magically get better if we just try harder, love harder, or wait a little longer. How many of you fell prey to the oh-so-common beliefs that once we close this deal, once the kids are older, or once we are done with the mortgage, then we somehow, inexplicably and immediately start being happy again? Familiar? Thought so. But let's get back on point. The moment when you're ready for divorce doesn't come from anyone else. It comes from within you. It's not about your mom telling you it's time, or your best friend giving you that "it's okay to move on" speech. You've got to feel it. My personal turning point came one morning when I woke up and it just dawned on me. I didn't care anymore. For the first time, I realized, truly realized, that dragging my emotions, my heart, and my energy through the mud would never lead to anything real. The effort wasn't worth it, and I didn't have any desire left to push forward. I wasn't angry. I wasn't crying. I was just done. And that was my sign. If you're in the middle of trying to figure it out, maybe you're thinking, I'm just so tired of fighting, or I don't even know who my partner is anymore. That's how it starts. It's the feeling that you're trying to force something that shouldn't be forced. It's the gut instinct telling you that this is not how it was supposed to be. If you, like me, tend to question yourself and have a bit of a people-pleasing streak, divorce cured me of that, huh? Then the next few months, or maybe even years, are going to be full of self-doubt. You might find yourself thinking, maybe I'm the problem? Or maybe what I want is unrealistic? Or am I just too impatient? And if your partner has a knack for gaslighting, they'll be more than happy to keep those doubts alive. They'll make sure your thoughts never settle, keeping you second-guessing everything. This doesn't exactly make the decision any easier, does it? It's like having 1,000 voices inside your head, all telling you different things. The process isn't linear and feels like a twisted ritual you keep repeating, hoping for a different outcome. So yes, it might take a while. And when it is time, realizing it's time to divorce doesn't always come as a big, dramatic moment. For some, it's like a quiet whisper at the back of your mind, slowly becoming louder and louder until it's all you can hear. For others, it's an emotional outburst, maybe something small but enough to crack the emotional dam wide open. Maybe it's something that suddenly feels like the final straw, an innocent comment that sends you into an emotional spiral, or an awkward silence that's louder than any argument you've ever had. For me, the realization took about 10 years. Yes, 10 long years of back and forth. I mean, don't get me wrong. Life had its high points in those years. I had my son. I was starting to feel like things might get better. But then the cracks began showing up again, subtle at first. I'd dismissed them, of course, because, well, things seemed fine. We had a house, a kid, and the kind of normal you're supposed to be grateful for, right? But after a while, the discontent started building. And during all this, well-meaning relatives, hello mom, would say things like, you owe it to your son to make it work. So like many others, I stuck it out. I convinced myself that for his sake, I should just suck it up and carry on. By the time my son turned 7, it was abundantly clear that my ex is not my Prince Charming. In fact, we're talking a level of resentment and irritation so high that any romantic affection was long gone. To be honest, the idea of kissing my ex filled me with a slight physical repulsion. At this point, our relationship wasn't just lacking romance, it was practically non-existent. And trust me, the feeling was mutual. We didn't talk much anymore, and when we did, it was a chorus of irritation, frustration, and some major passive-aggressive vibes. It's wild how someone who once felt like home can suddenly feel so alien. And yet it took another 3 years before I was fully certain that it was time to go. This wasn't some decision I woke up and made overnight. It wasn't a snap decision. It wasn't even something a therapist could fix in a few sessions. I had to arrive there. It took time, and that's okay. If you're feeling like you've been in this long process of thinking and rethinking, you're not alone. In fact, you're in the majority. Here's another statistical gem that might surprise you. On average, couples spend about 6 unhappy years before deciding to seek help. 6 whole years. Who knew? So don't feel bad if it's taken you a while to get here. This is normal. So how do you know when you're really ready to move on? Here's a list of some of the most common signs I see. 1. The emotional exhaustion is real. You're tired, not just physically but emotionally drained. Every conversation feels like an argument. Every effort to make it work feels like pushing a boulder uphill. At some point, the emotional toll becomes too much to bear. 2. Your future doesn't include them. One of the clearest signs I had that it was time for divorce was realizing I couldn't picture a future with my partner. I couldn't see growing old with them, raising kids, or building anything more. Instead, I was seeing a life without them, and the thought was strangely comforting. 3. You don't care enough to fight anymore. If you find yourself not even wanting to try to make it work, chances are you're already done. When you are simply not caring anymore, when the effort feels like a chore, that's when you know something's broken. 4. The thought of being alone feels liberating. When being alone feels like freedom, and the thought of separation or being single again a breath of fresh air, or when fantasizing about your Uber driver starts to feel alarmingly real, you might be closer to ready than you think. 5. You've tried everything. If you've tried counseling, open conversations, date nights, or whatever else and it's still not working, then you've probably done all you can. There comes a point when all the effort feels pointless, and that's a big red flag that it's time to face reality. At the end of the day, it all comes down to this: you will know when you're there. Sure, you'll get a steady stream of advice from well-intentioned friends, your therapist, and yes, Aunt Karen will have plenty to say about it. But the only person who truly knows if it's time to say goodbye is you. And when you're ready, you'll feel it. Maybe it'll come after a fight, maybe after a quiet reflection, or maybe it'll just hit you one morning. But when you know, you'll know. You might not have the exact words yet, but you have that feeling. So, my friend, if you're still here wondering whether it's time to pull the plug, take a deep breath. You don't need to have all the answers yet. Just keep listening to yourself. When the time comes, you'll feel it in your bones. And when you do, take that next step with courage, because you deserve a life that makes you feel whole again. Have you reached your breaking point, or are you still figuring it out? Share your story in the comments, like and subscribe, and let's support each other through this mess, the growth, and the crazy beautiful parts too.